Welcome to another episode of DC TBD. My name is Ian Taranji. I am one of your hosts tonight, and I'm here, as always, with the lovely, the beautiful, the wonderful Michelle Bush, who is in a wonderful mood tonight, and I couldn't be happier.
I'm sorry, guys. I came in. Hi, good evening, everybody. I came in and I've been irritated for the past 2 days,
Yeah.
and I know I shouldn't be. And as Molly tells me, after you finish the show, that's it. Don't post anything else, and enjoy your Friday. Shout out to Molly.
Shout out to Molly. She's got to be loving life in Ireland.
She's in Ireland, but let's just call her Molly 16. Was it 16,000? 1,600? I think it's 16,000. Molly got like 16,000 votes.
Yes.
In the
yes.
primary. I think that's what it was. I have to go back to the Board of Elections site.
Shout out to Molly. Thank you for everybody who voted for her.
Yes. Shout out to the Dump Trump. For those that of you all that did not know who the Dump Trump, anyway, we're going to talk DC politics.
Yes, we are.
Shortly.
The venerable Mr. Dowling will be joining us as soon as he rolls up here. This is the beauty of doing a live show. I think this may be the latest that we've gotten to start, but anyway.
It's the beauty of all of us kind of being important. And clearly I'm getting ready to lose my voice, so please hold.
No, it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Probably, I guess, both of you. And so we've got some things to really break down and talk about tonight, and really kind of just keeping it to two topics. I really want to talk about this immigration family separation thing. We talked a fair bit about it last week, and that was kind of before it became a cultural firestorm. We were talking about family separations and talking about how awful it was, and this was before we saw the images, before we saw the video, before we heard
the cries,
the audio, the cries of these children in ProPublica. So we're going to talk about family separation. I have a lot to say. I am sure, Michelle, you do as well.
I do.
Marcus, I'm sure, does as well.
Yep.
And then after that, I want to turn it over to you, Michelle, and here we just had elections this week in D.C., and there's a lot to talk about.
There's a lot to talk
as
about.
well. There's a lot to talk about, I'm sure.
Yeah, there is.
So
I'm pretty disgusted by by all of it.
Yes. So you came in here in a shit ass mood, and
I did.
And now we're gonna take up topics that are gonna put you in a bright, sunshiny mood.
You know what? I feel like I've had a crazy day, and this is the time that I get to spend with people that I enjoy, and people that I respect tremendously. And we're gonna talk about things. We're gonna touch on subjects that I believe we need to be talking about more up front at the dinner table, because this is how I grew up. Mm-hmm. At our dinner table, we talked about current events. Yeah. In the school system that I went to, we talked about current events.
Right.
And we went on with our day. It's understanding it. It's breaking it down. I have friends that are like, I'm not watching the news. That's fine. They actually say to me, no, I just follow your timeline because that's my news. And I'm okay with that.
It can be. It can be.
So,
sure.
but this immigration on topic is very important, and you're going to go into it, and it's I guess I'm going to jump ahead and say that my favorite thing this week are my co-host, and specifically you this week.
Oh, thank you.
Because to do this day in and day out, and the passion, the understanding, and maybe not some of the understanding, as laws are changing, as the people are changing. Yeah. This isn't 1972, and we're coming up for a better this, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, well, here you're going to do a 2-hour wait in line, and here you go. Welcome to America.
Yeah, I get. For those who don't know, I in addition to being an artist, and host of DC TBD, I am an immigration attorney, and I do get a lot of people saying, "Hey, thank you for what you do. Thank you for representing these people, for giving them a voice." And I don't always feel super comfortable. It's not charity that I do; it's a business.
Yep.
Although, to be sure, nobody is getting rich off of a clientele based primarily on poor, undocumented immigrants. But it is, it is still my, my business and the way I feed my family. But that said, you cannot sit and talk to these people and hear their stories, see how it affects them, and not be affected yourself.
Right.
And to me, what this week showed, we had too many people in this country who just failed a basic test of humanity. And in order to accomplish that, there was a lot of dehumanization that went on. And dehumanization, obviously, and justification have been used, have been essential elements in so many human atrocities that have been committed in this country, in other countries. And so we'll get into that. But before we do, I kind of want to give the sort of the who, what, where, when, how of family separation, because I'm sure that there's a lot. This is kind of my frustration as an immigration attorney. There's so much misinformation and obfuscation that goes on, and we saw a lot of it from the administration this week because they knew that it was a terrible, horrible policy of theirs. It was a choice that these are choices that they made that ended up with families being separated, and they didn't want to face up to it.
Yeah.
Donald Trump is always, he's happy to take credit for anything that goes great. Even if it hasn't gone great yet, he'll say it's gone great and he'll take credit for it. But woe be to you if you try to, pin that responsibility on him. Then it's the Democrats, it's this, it's that, it's the other thing, so let's just really quickly get into the who, what, where, and why of family separation.
As I'm getting my phone charged
yeah.
up.
Well, this is important shit here. We need to. I don't want you losing your. I don't want you losing your charge.
Yeah, because I'm literally on 23%. You want me to do this myself?
That's not going to get you through the show.
No, this is not going to get me through the show. I would like to welcome you all to DCTBD. This is how we do.
This is a very DIY operation.
There we go.
No. We got the best crew.
Thanks, production.
Yes.
All right, let's break down because I think for everybody it's very important to understand. We feel a certain way, and I'll get into my statement.
Yeah.
After you break this down, it's understanding what is the law, what is the backing, the premise behind.
Yeah. So basically, there's this. I mean, you can't get into this conversation without talking about the conditions on the ground, particularly in Central America, and in particular within Central America. I'm talking about El Salvador, Honduras, and Guatemala, and that these are the countries that are primarily, it is their citizens who are coming up and presenting themselves at the border or attempting to cross and then being apprehended. Typically, before Donald Trump instituted a zero tolerance policy, you could present yourself at the border and say, I'm from Guatemala, I want to seek asylum, and then there's processing. They take you in and they will process you. If you didn't present yourself at the border and if you just crossed, you were apprehended. And I think it's also important to note, pretty much since 2010, it's got to be like somewhere between 98 and 100% of people who have crossed the border have been apprehended. This notion that people are crossing the border, nobody's getting them, and then they're just working their way into the country is a huge misrepresentation. And I've interviewed literally thousands of undocumented individuals, mostly in talking to them and evaluating whether they have a case, whether I can represent them, and I have not yet met a single person who came to this country, crossed a border after 2010, and was not apprehended.
Right. Now, now, when we say 98 to 100% of anybody, and I'll make this point because I can't stand those shows, the Border Patrol. What's on like Nat Geo and everything. I can't stand those shows. Prior to, were their numbers just a little bit lower or significantly lower? So prior, our favorite year, 2008.
Yeah.
Prior to 2008, what did the numbers look like?
So it really started in like 2005. I think a lot of people forget. After George W. Bush was reelected, you know, two of his big signature, what he wanted to accomplish from a policy standpoint, one was privatizing Social Security, and that was a big loser. Everybody, his own party included, shut it down. The other was immigration reform. Now, the Republican idea, or some Republicans' idea of immigration reform in 2005 is vastly different than what it is today, and it was functionally going to be like an amnesty for everyone who was here undocumented. We were probably talking about somewhere between 10 and 12 million undocumented, you know, back in 2005. His party revolted on that as well, and since then they've been very, very hard line on immigration. But as part of those efforts, there was a lot more money that was earmarked towards hiring more Border Patrol, increasing the technology that they use to monitor the border.
Because I remember they were just doing like TSA. I mean, they were just throwing ads out there. We'll pay you this much.
Yeah.
You can move here for just a year or like 8 months.
Right, because they had a lot of money. They had a lot of money to throw around.
And then you can pick which, you know, where you want to go.
Right. So these people now, today, under Donald Trump's zero tolerance policy, so they're crossing the border.
Right.
They're getting apprehended. And previously, you get apprehended and you say, I want to seek asylum in the United States. And so then they would process you the same way that they process the people at the border crossing. Now what they're doing is they are not processing you, they're prosecuting you for crossing the border. I think what a lot of people who, you know, talk about this sort of like fealty to the rule of law neglect to understand is that what they're being charged with, what these people are being charged with, if it's a first unlawful entry, is a misdemeanor. Under federal law, it's a misdemeanor.
Yeah.
And there is even the option for, instead of criminal sanctions, and the criminal sanctions are limited, I believe, to 6 months in jail, which, you know, obviously nobody would get for a first offense, and maybe like $250 fine. If criminally convicted, there's also civil penalties of usually like somewhere in the $50 to $100 range. Basically, under federal law, this is not a very serious crime. Not a very serious crime at all.
But it's just like you automatically cross the line. So literally, this line on the floor, I cross it. That's an automatic misdemeanor.
Yeah. It's an unlawful crossing because you were supposed to be what's called paroled into the country. You're supposed to be inspected and paroled. When you're standing in line, you come back from, you know, Cancun.
Humans, human beings,
yes, when you come back,
are literally. I mean, what you just said sounds like I'm inspecting fruit, chicken, you know, I was going to say poultry. Told y'all I'm having a bad night. Beef, just fish. It's okay. It blows my mind.
Right.
It blows my mind that literally I crossed the line. It's misdemeanor.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You have a criminal record.
Sure, and that law's been on the books for a long time. And
I don't think people understand and know that, and that's why I'm at. You know, this is why we're talking about this tonight, everybody.
Yeah,
you know, I would love to see. You know, and I see a couple people online. You know, how many of you knew that crossing the line, crossing the border illegally? I mean, we have to say it is what it is. That's an automatic misdemeanor.
Yeah, but the point of it is that when families came with their children. And even when they didn't come with their children, we didn't prosecute them. Right. We didn't waste resources. We didn't waste time prosecuting for a misdemeanor. We would just process them as though they showed up at the port of entry.
Right.
And the reason why a lot of these people are crossing instead of going to a port of entry is because they've been brought up with what they call a coyote, which is somebody that you pay a few $1,000s to, and they take you on the journey from your country up to the U.S. border. Some people think that these coyotes are traffickers. You know, I mean, I guess that may well be the technical definition, but
they are not the Harriet Tubmans of
let's not
of Central America.
Right. Let's not. I'm certainly not going to paint them as heroes. That a lot of them take advantage of these people.
Yeah.
It's a very dangerous journey to undertake. These are, along with refugees in Syria and Yemen and Somalia and places where they're escaping civil war. These are the most vulnerable people on planet Earth right now.
Right.
And these are normally the types of people that we would extend a hand to. So we had a huge outcry. I mean, there's been an outcry for a couple of weeks. We've known about this policy for a couple of weeks. I've been talking about it since I first heard about it. I'm not somebody who gets histrionic or hysterical about politics on my social media, but this issue
he leaves that to me, everybody.
Exactly. Well, Michelle, you do it so well. Why,
Thank you.
Why should I?
Thank you very much.
Why should I jump in? Why should I jump in?
And normally I don't even say anything. I just post and let the people talk.
Yeah. But we really, I think, this week hit a critical mass with this because, well, I should back up too, really quickly. So when these people are being criminally prosecuted, that is the pretext for separating the children from the families. Because then at that point, they're not in immigration detention. They're in federal jail awaiting trial in federal court, prosecuted by United States attorneys. So in that system, it would be just like if the FBI showed up at your door and arrested you for, possessing 100 pounds of heroin or methamphetamine, and they took you away, and your kids are there screaming in the house. And so a lot of conservatives have tried to kind of use that as a defense, like, well, of course, children are separated from their families all the time. This is different. This is different than that. And it's different in several ways. I mean, you have these children who have undergone this arduous journey. Now, understand, the children have done nothing illegal. Nothing illegal, nothing wrong, and yet they're the ones that are being punished. And they're being punished for basically two reasons. One, and this has been stated by either Donald Trump or people in his administration. One, as a deterrent to other asylum seekers coming into the United States, and two, as leverage against Democrats as we begin to negotiate immigration reform. So, family separation. You've got screaming children literally being ripped away from crying mothers and fathers, and then being taken to separate detention facilities, often in separate states.
Yeah.
Separate states. We have had several show up in New York, in Michigan, in
that's
California.
What I was going to say. That child that is a 2-year-old or
there's like a 6-month-old or something like that, an 8-month-old.
That's in Detroit.
Came into Detroit. It's a horror show, like I said last week, and it really hit a critical mass this week because we began to start to get to see images of what's going on in these detention centers. What are the actual conditions that these children are in? We also heard ProPublica, the journalism outfit who really do tremendous work. ProPublica released audio from one of these detention centers of children who had been separated from their parents, and it's heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking to listen to. It is, and I think that really brought things home for a lot of people. I mean, look, let's not pretend like this is popular.
Right.
It's deeply unpopular by about a 2-to-1 margin. It's about, 65-35. I mean, it is deeply, deeply unpopular among the American public at large. But we still had a lot of people defending this policy, and using some of the most specious, garbage, bullshit arguments to try to defend something that is indefensible. It is indefensible.
The individuals that spoke, number one, clearly don't even understand what it's about, what's going on, and what's the law, and what's not the law. Yeah. They are speaking because their puppet master is speaking.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of that. The administration goes out there and gives bullshit answers, like the Secretary of Homeland Security said that there is not a policy to separate children, period. And then other people are saying, well, of course there's a policy to separate children. We're trying to send a message to these people in these countries to not come.
What was Sarah Saunders said, it was biblical.
Oh, yeah, there was that was last week's.
Sessions
That was last week's outrage. That was.
It's like, why wasn't she supposed to quit? Why are you still up there?
Because she has no soul.
Yeah.
So I mean, look.
Let me ask you this question. And this has been the question that I didn't pose it on social media, kind of maybe, but I've asked several individuals. As we're sitting here, as we're talking about it, as we're seeing the images, as we're hearing it, and it's like, okay, how do we explain this? Were the signs there that something like this was going to happen? Because he is P45. We know how he is. We know that he wants to demise everything that President Obama, and even prior to, because he's talked about Bush, he's talked about Clinton. You know, I don't think he's taken a dig too deep at Reagan, but definitely, Carter. Is there something that we see this?
You mean outside of him being a terrible human being and a racist? Outside
of
that?
I mean,
Okay. Because there have been people discussing this. This has been a subject of discussion in the administration for a while now.
Yeah.
John Kelly, before he was White House Chief of Staff, when he was head of the Department of Homeland Security, did an interview, I believe, with Wolf Blitzer, maybe in like March of 2017. And Wolf said, "Are you considering a policy of separating families at the border?" And he said, "Yeah." You damn right. Basically said, "You're damn right. We're considering it, and it would be a serious deterrent, and that's what we really want to accomplish." And
because of everything going on with him and the campaign and Hillary, all of us overlooked it. I don't want to say all of us overlooked it. Those of us that pay certain attention to certain things. We knew that something like this or something of a magnitude, if not now, he basically said, if not now, when?
Yeah.
So that's why I said, I've talked to people. Did you think that this was going to happen? Because, I mean, the way that people are just, I just can't believe this happened. This is so. Wait a minute. Do you even know the law? You didn't see this coming? We had to know that this was going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, we had a status quo ante before this new policy was instituted, where, like I said, you're at the border, and either you're apprehended or you've presented yourself at a port of entry, and somebody says, "Do you have a visa to come into the United States?" And they say no, and they say, "Okay, well, why are you here?" "Well, I want asylum. I have fear of returning to my country." Okay, and then they would undertake what's called the credible fear interview, where there's a border agent who gives an interview, basically asking, why have you left your country, and to determine whether that meets just sort of most basic threshold of asylum. And you know what? If you're up there and you say, well, there's no work where I live, and I thought I'd come to the United States and try to find a job. I mean, if you tell that to a border agent in a credible fear interview, they're going to say, you know what, you don't even have the most basic, credible fear, and so they would get returned. It's expedited removal.
Yeah, but if you say you live in the village and the MS are over here and the
Mata 18s, are over there.
I don't even like saying their names. I'm just afraid. It's like Candyman when you say their names. You say it too many times, I have a fear they're going to pop up.
Yeah. But so that's how people got processed in beforehand. And then if you have a credible fear, then they have to, if you have your children with you, they typically will release you either on bond or on your own recognizance, and you have to check in at your local ICE office. You have to go and appear at immigration court. And try to offer some sort of a defense. You have to try to prove your asylum claim to an immigration judge, which is extremely difficult. It's extremely difficult. The vast majority of asylum cases lose.
Right.
And that's just that's just reality. U.S. immigration law is difficult. It's tough. It was that way when Obama was president. It was that way when George W. Bush was president. It's been that way. So, but to my mind, getting away from sort of like the immigration policies underlying and undergirding all this, this to me is just sort of a basic test of humanity. I mean, do you use innocent children as pawns to achieve an objective? Do you, I mean, are you, there's an argument that what this is actually amounts to the international definition of torture. There have been some physicians who have said that what is going on meets the legal definition of child abuse. This is all being done by the United States government in our name. It is we are all, this is our government, whether we like it or not. And a lot of us, imagine if you're watching this show, you probably don't like that this is our government, but this is our government.
Doesn't everybody feel so patriotic right now?
Yeah, exactly.
You just want to salute the flag and be like, what the hell is really going on?
Yeah.
I have my thoughts and I have my understanding. Couple of people, because of course a lot of this happened on June 19th. So for those of you all that don't know what June 19th is, it's Juneteenth. Google it. And so,
Google that shit. It's important.
Google that shit. It's real important. It's a celebration of understanding the rights of, and that's what we're talking about.
Civil rights
of
all human people.
So a few people posted a picture of a slave master taking away a child from a mother. And I'm just thinking, okay, well, yeah, you understand it. This is our modern day slavery. But this isn't something that stopped when the slave ships went away and the cotton fields were growing, and this has been happening for eternity.
Well, I mean, I think when you are separating children from their parents, screaming children, literally,
and then you put them in a cage.
And then you put them in a cage. I mean, it requires a level of dehumanization that just, to me, is all too persistent in the American character.
How do they sleep at night?
Because they don't, when you dehumanize groups of people, you don't have to think about their individual humanity.
No.
You can justify all kinds of atrocities. I mean, how did slavery happen? How did Jim Crow happen? How did the Holocaust happen? How did Japanese internment happen? How has anti-Muslim bigotry taken hold in post 9/11? All kinds of atrocities happen when we dehumanize groups, we dehumanize tribes, and it's just, I don't know. I was a history and political science major. I know these fields intimately, and I just feel like not enough people have that basic knowledge of. We all just sit there and say, "Oh my God, slavery was so awful." Who thought that was a good idea? How could that possibly have happened? The Holocaust, so awful. How on earth could that have happened? Well, it happens when you have groups of people who can't see the humanity in other groups of people. And again, I'll be the first to admit that in my work as an immigration lawyer, I get to sit down across the table from these people. I hear them talk. I pass them tissues to wipe away their tears. I hear their stories. I hear a lot of very horrific stories of what has happened to these people. And look, like I say, asylum law is very difficult. There's times when I've sat there and handed people tissues to dab away their tears and listened to a horrific story, and at the very end say, that is awful, and I am so sorry that that has happened to you. But there isn't anything that I can do to help.
Yeah.
The United States immigration law doesn't offer protection for that.
Right.
And so, you know, I have that perspective where I get to see everybody's humanity. They're not numbers. They're not just a brown mass of people to me. They're individuals, many of whom I've been in their homes.
Yeah.
I've been in their homes and met their families. You know, it's upsetting to me to see so many other people just dehumanizing these people, because that's really the only way that you can think that this is okay. That's the only way that you can think that this is okay, is if you're not thinking of these people as people.
Right.
I mean, who do we take children from the parents? I mean, livestock?
Yeah.
Animals?
Yep. But that's basically what this administration has called us.
That's absolutely right.
We're
That's
animals.
absolutely right. And like I say, we heard very serious audio of what's going on in these child detention centers from ProPublica. Try to say that fast.
ProPublica.
10 times. ProPublica.
ProPublica.
And God
See,
bless
I
them.
already
God
messed
bless
it
them.
up.
You know what? I honestly think that they may win the Pulitzer Prize just for that audio.
Yeah.
And that, I think, was a turning point in this whole story, because we had yesterday, and yesterday being Wednesday, the 21st of June, or the 20th of June, I apologize, President Trump signed an executive order that basically ended family separation.
So who had their finger in his jugular? Who did that? And we're going to talk about what Melania had on today.
Yeah.
Because that was either a dig at or a dig at.
Well, yeah.
So who had their finger in Trump's jugular to sign that?
Yeah, you know what?
Because he has no tears of a clown.
Right.
Smokey,
yeah, I mean,
Smokey Robinson for you all that don't know.
For all the kids out there.
For all the kids out there that are watching.
Who don't know their Motown.
Mm-hmm.
And are pathetic.
Damn.
Know your Motown. Come on. This is basic stuff
that
here.
Went straight to the musical jugular.
This is straight stuff here. This is easy stuff. Know your Motown.
Taraji is on a roll tonight, y'all.
Go buy the box set.
Go
buy the box set. It'll your life will if you're not
Matter
a fan
of fact,
of Motown.
turn on PBS. You should watch the PBS NewsHour, and then Austin City Limits. How great was Austin? I don't mean to. Have you guys ever watched Austin City? Oh, I mean, of course. Who doesn't watch Austin City? Google it if you don't know what I'm talking about.
Get your Motown on. Anyway.
Okay, sorry.
Back to immigration. So we had this executive order yesterday. What does the executive order say? So the executive order basically says, okay, we're not going to separate parents from children. Mm-hmm. We're just going to keep them together now.
In cages.
Detained. In cages. In
an old Walmart.
Yeah. So let me just really quickly back up. Why were they separated? Well, there is there's a federal court order that indicates basically that you cannot detain children for more than 20 days. And so I guess they were thinking that they were going to have to detain these parents for more than 20 days in order to process them through the federal court system, so they just separated the kids.
Right.
Now, basically what they're going to do is they're just going to keep them all together, which is likely going to violate this court order and lead to some litigation.
Yeah.
But, I'm not sure that's, well, that's a polite way of saying it's not appreciably better. It's a little bit better in that parents and children are now together, but they're still together in what amounts to an inhumane condition if they're going to be detained indefinitely throughout the pendency of their asylum cases. Basically, the way these things usually work is they process you, they give you a court date, they tell you which ICE office you need to report to, and then they release you either on a bond or on your own recognizance. And then you go, you leave Texas, you get on a Greyhound bus, you take it up to Rockville or Baltimore or whatever. Your family members pick you up, and now you live in Maryland. You send a change of address form into DHS.
Right.
They transfer your immigration case to the immigration court in Baltimore. The immigration court in Baltimore sends you a notice, hey, come to court on such and such date.
Right.
Their ICE sends you a notice, hey, come in and check in, every month or every 6 months or whatever. A lot of these folks also have ankle bracelets, GPS monitoring ankle bracelets.
The woman on the plane has a bracelet on, ankle monitor on. I saw the photo of that, her and her son.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you've got to be joking
right.
me. So my question, as we're as we're breaking this down, and we really hope that everybody understands this, if you're watching it live now or when you watch the rerun of this, available on YouTube or on on Facebook, One Love
Facebook
Massive.
Live.
These detention centers, I mean, literally, like one of them is an old Walmart.
Yeah.
Where are these? Where are the teams of people getting cages from to throw us into? Because that's basically what is being done. How is this happening so rapidly, so fast? That's why I asked my question. Did we see this coming? Did you all know that this was happening, and were you already prepared?
So they were somewhat prepared and somewhat not prepared. I mean,
and I want to know the meals. Are we eating like jail, bologna sandwich, and some sippy cup fruit punch?
That's a good question.
Little Jitney Jungle for those from Mississippi. That was the grocery store. Little juice thing we had in boarding school. Like I don't mean to joke about this because this is not a joking matter.
Yeah.
But you all know I got the zingers that just pop in my head.
I know. Let them fly.
Let them fly. So I mean, my question, and this is an honest question, because I think about DC jail, and whew, God bless y'all down there, or the holding cell, central cell block. Like, we know you go down there, you hear the big clank, 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 close, and you're gonna be in there till Tuesday morning.
Yep.
When the former Judge Satterfield decided to let you out or not. So it's just like these places, these tender age boxes that they're in, were they like already set up and ready to get people in?
I would say this: there is definitely an industry, a private industry around housing inmates.
Sounds like CCA to me.
So,
I wonder if Michael Jordan still has his stock in that.
There's a lot of
y'all didn't know about
private companies there are a lot of private companies that make money housing inmates. These detention centers, they're thinking about building more to house more. And I mean, that really gets me, I guess, to my question. I mean, why change the policy now? Is there really a crisis at the border? The United States right now is enjoying what economists would call, and I'm not going to argue that this is a great economy for everybody.
No.
It certainly is not. But when you look at Department of Labor statistics, and you look at how economists define full employment, we're there. This economy is enjoying full employment under the econometric definition of full employment. We know that undocumented immigrants commit a fraction of the crime of native-born people, and that is per 100,000 individuals. I'd have to look up the numbers, but I saw charts in the Washington Post today that basically showed, I think, native-born homicides are at like 2,000 for every 100,000, and undocumented homicides are basically like 750 for every 100,000 individuals in the population.
Yeah.
So we know that undocumented do not commit. That there is not some wave of crime being committed by undocumented individuals in this country.
Have we heard any MS-13 chatter since all of this has happened via the news?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, MS-13 is a big.
I wonder if they're just kind of taking, I mean, do thugs care?
So,
not really calling them thugs, but
no. Look, MS-13 are thugs. They're absolutely thugs. They're terrible. It's a terrible gang. They're terrible people. They're thugs. Like they should have all of the approbation that they deserve. But the administration is using MS-13 the same way previous administrations used ISIS to sort of arouse fear of
I'm scared.
Muslims. You're scared of MS-13? You shouldn't be.
No, not really.
You shouldn't be.
No, not really.
You got more chance. You could live in a building with a bunch of MS-13 people,
and
you're still going to have a better chance of getting killed by a bus crossing the street than you will by MS-13.
They wouldn't bother me.
And then, but the notion that, first of all, MS-13 is not coming across the border.
Nope.
MS-13 is here already. MS-13 started in the United States, Los Angeles, I believe.
Yeah.
They are here. They're not coming here.
They've already been here.
They've been here, and the MS-13 that's in El Salvador, in Guatemala, and Honduras, they run that country. They run their territory. Yeah. They act with impunity. The police do not do anything to stop them, to halt their activities. In fact, the police usually help. When people go and make reports to the police, hey, look, these MS-13 folks were extorting me, or they threatened to rape my daughter, then the police say, okay, let me get your name, your address, your phone number, and then as soon as they leave, they pick up the phone.
Go get them.
Call the MS-13 people. Here's the name, here's the address, here's the phone number. They just made a complaint about you, and next thing you know, your problems have increased. So I mean, I talk to a lot of people, and it's always one of the questions I ask: did you make police reports? Some of them actually have, and they provide you with the police reports, but a lot of them are just like, no, why would I? It would just get me killed.
Yeah, that's why I'm here.
That's why I'm here. So MS-13 and the MATA 18, I mean, they act with impunity in those countries. There's no reason on earth that an MS-13 member would leave El Salvador on that path through Mexico and then try to sneak into the United States, into a place that has, certainly relatively speaking from where they come from, vibrant law enforcement and an actual court system that, in theory anyway, is supposed to be based in the rule of law.
Right.
Certainly more so than what we find in El Salvador. Certainly more so than what we find in Honduras or Guatemala. It's one of those dog whistles that people in the administration will use. Oh, MS-13. They want people to be afraid of MS-13 the same way that they wanted people to be afraid of ISIS, the same way that they wanted people to be afraid of Al-Qaeda, the same way that they have wanted people to be afraid of all sorts of groups that they can then dehumanize and use as justification to commit all manner of atrocities. And so
it's just a repeat of history.
It is a repeat of history, and not enough people know their history. And
take time out and learn, people.
Read a book. Read a book.
The Washington Post. You can read the Washington Post, listen to Kojo Nnamdi, and
tune into DCTBD.
Turn into DCTBD.
That's right.
And then listen to
Amy Schumer's podcast.
Yeah, that one. I couldn't even think. I told y'all my brain is scrambled right now. Good grief, I'll be glad when this event is over with. Anybody that still needs tickets to Sweet White Jazzy Night, you better hurry up. You have until 11:59 p.m. That is by the HBCU Council of Shiloh Baptist Church. We're going to party on the rooftop on Saturday.
What are proceeds going towards?
So all proceeds go towards HBCU scholarships. We have 8 of them. That we give out every February at HBCU Sunday. Excellent. So it is my love, it's my lineage.
So tell us again, what is SWJN?
So SWJN is Sweet White Jazzy Night. We shortened it this year because, you see on flyers.
There's not that many sweet whites.
I know a few sweet whites. There's a few sweet white daddies out there. Hey, daddy. So it is an affair. The band is collaboration. Yeah. They've been with us for a while, and it's a silent auction. And actually, Event Solutions DC will have a ticketed item for a value of $250.
Excellent.
For a 30-minute free consultation and 10% off any tiered package. Starting value $250. I am not cheap.
And nor should you be. Know your value.
Yes, know your value, people. Know your value. So.
Well, that's fantastic. That's SWJN. That's going to be the 23rd. So what is that, Saturday?
That is Saturday.
At 6 p.m.
Yeah.
And we're going to be at the Shiloh
Baptist
Church,
yeah.
which is beautiful. It's beautiful. I've been in that building before.
Yeah. Don't be afraid. Everybody's just like, oh, jazz event. They're like, yeah. Then they're like, oh, it's at the church. Don't be afraid. We get down. And Pastor laughs, and he has a good time because he enjoys seeing us work hard, play hard, and raising money for students. And, oh, you know what? I do have to shout out something real DC before we get back to a little bit of immigration and then move on to DC politics. Marcus, where are you? I always I shout out, kind of randoms and everything. But if we talk about Sweet White Jazzy Night in September, we do a SAT prep workshop. Where students take the SAT and the parents sit in a workshop and go over financial aid, admissions, scholarships, everything.
That's outstanding.
While the kids are taking the test. So we break everything down. But I have to shout out McKinley Tech High School because every year for the past 3 years, we have more students from McKinley Tech. So Ward 5, McKinley Tech, DCPS, they show out and show up. And I think 2 of their students this year won our scholarship, 2 of our scholarships.
Good.
So, then,
God bless DCPS, man.
Yeah,
All those kids there, man. Keep working. Keep studying.
They got to do something.
Stay in school, study. Go to these workshops, these SAT workshops.
And it's free.
Yeah.
It's free.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what was that? The graduating rate for DC at one point in time, like when the scandal hit, when Antoine Wilson was peace out. I don't even know the new girl's name. Hey, new lady. Is she still interim? I don't know.
Yeah.
42%.
The older blonde white lady got pushed out, right? What was her name?
Yeah,
Michelle. She was the Asian lady, Michelle Rhee.
No, we're not talking about her. God, we're not talking about it. Now that really is Candyman. Don't say her name anymore, or she may pop up. She may pop up. Who gets fired from their own company? Oh, I'm sorry. Anyway, Michelle Rita. Anyway. But yeah, what's the 42% graduating rate in DC from the seniors?
Not good enough.
And everything. So shout out to the seniors that graduated. For those that are going to school, do your best. Ask for help. Just talk to somebody. For those that are not going to school, get your ass up and do something.
Yep.
Okay.
Don't play video games.
That comes to you from Auntie Michelle today.
Don't stay home and play video games and smoke weed.
No.
Save that for the adults.
Yeah, save that for
Michelle. You gotta earn that privilege.
Ooh, yes you do, and I have earned my stripes. Earned them. All right, Taraji.
Before we jump in, I just want to point out breaking news.
Oh, my God.
The Washington Bullets have drafted 6'7", 208 pounds from University of Oregon. Small forward, looks like Troy Brown. ESPN says his strengths: good combination of size, length, and frame for an NBA wing. Big enough to play a small ball for, which I think we might see the Bullets doing this year because it looks like Marcin Gortat is probably going to get moved. I don't use the W word.
Thank you.
They are still and have always been
the Washington Bullets.
The Washington Bullets. So
I told Taraji to put his hat on tonight because I want everybody, because Dion, I know you're not watching, but I'm gonna call you out. Champagne no champagne in the living room. I always jack up the name of their podcast and newsletter and social media.
Is that the name? No champagne in the living room?
No, it's champagne in the locker room.
Champagne
in the locker room.
All right.
As much as I post about it, you think I can remember these things. Because I kind of took a dig. There was an article that was like, talking about LeBron coming to D.C. That's what we need. And I was like, honey, we do not need 2 crybabies in D.C. LeBron does great advocacy work. I think he's taken his money. I love, how he's kept his family together. And I think he's a really good guy. He's a big old crybaby on the court when he doesn't get his way and he doesn't want to play well with.
What NBA player isn't, though?
Yeah, but I loved it when Dennis Rodman used to do it. It was just real, just the anger behind it. But then he came out and he was like, yeah, man, we did that. No, LeBron doesn't do that so well. And I always say it's because he never played on a collegiate level. He went straight into the NBA. That's just me. Everybody else may say, you don't know what you're talking about.
You know what you're talking about.
Okay.
I'm not sure that I agree with that, but
production is like, no, she wrong.
I would gladly take LeBron in DC, but I suspect it's not.
All right, so welcome. What's his name?
Troy Brown.
Okay.
So it looks like we got a 6'7". How's his shooting? Let me see. If they want to play small ball 4.
So thoughts out there, thoughts in Thoughtville.
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Leave that poor boy alone. Don't y'all be taking him to the club and over at oh, I was about to say the Skylark.
Park at 14.
Oh, child, please. Everybody goes to Park. Even I still go to Park. Only when Secret Society is there. Only when Secret Society is there.
It's been a few years since I've been at Park, but
I mean, it is what it is. Yeah.
But
go to Decades. Decades is better.
Go to Decades, yes. If only we had somebody here
to talk about Decades.
A representative from Decades nightclub.
Who represents Decades? And I think they're doing something called Rewind. Something? I don't know. Something. I don't know.
I feel like there should be.
Can I shout out to the people that are on my timeline that are watching?
Shout out to everybody who is watching. First of all, how many people are watching?
I don't know. I don't know. But of course, church member is watching. A little brother of somebody that went to college across the street from me is watching. One of my homegirls who is a teacher is watching. And then, of course, the best of the best, Bootsy Vegas. If y'all don't know who Bootsy Vegas is, Google it. Right. He is watching. So, hey, everybody.
Shout out to everybody. Bootsy, we love you.
Yeah. Get stronger, get better. Because he is, if you don't know, that Sally, Bootsy Vegas, just big advocate in DCPS.
Excellent.
And everything for DPR and, trying to get these kids to understand the radio and media and everything.
God bless anybody who's trying to make kids understand anything.
Fuck cancer. We don't like it. So
No doubt. Well, shout out to Boots.
We got to get on to our next subject.
Let's talk DC politics. We had elections this week.
Wow.
Full disclosure, I am not a current resident of the District of Columbia, so I was not able to vote in the elections, and as such, I was able to kind of like keep a distance from a lot of the issues. And it seems like the biggest issue that was on the ballot was initiative number 77.
Mm-hmm.
So Michelle, are you able to give us like a quick rundown on 77?
I have to Google it.
All right, then I'll do the quick rundown on 77.
So it's not that I have to Google it. So it's Initiative 77 basically is.
It's going to bring tipped wage, minimum wage.
You're either going to keep the same hourly rate, which is like $3.33,
right?
And you survive off of your tips.
Right.
Those were the people that wanted no on Initiative 77.
Mm-hmm.
Yes on Initiative 77 was for that wage to come up by 2026 to $15.50 or somewhere to get up to
I think 15 to get up to the basic the minimum wage for everybody.
Right. And so it was huge debate.
It was huge debate, yeah.
Because literally restaurants went out and they did full-fledged marketing. They got posters, they got buttons. A lot of restaurants that you walked into, and I mean a lot of the old school, the old Ebbets of the world, were like, we're not here for it. Yeah. This is how our people survive. This is how I got through getting my master's degree. We don't want it. We're happy here. We treat our people well. This is family. He's worked here 22 years. He's worked here 15 years. She just started 2 months ago, and we've already bumped her up to this. And then other restaurants are like, no, it's better for me.
Well, look, we know how restaurants want to do things. If you ask a restaurant, would you rather all of your employees make $3.33 an hour or $15 an hour? That's an easy answer for the restaurant. What I found interesting was how many tipped employees were against 77. Did not want to make minimum wage,
right?
Because they felt that it would affect it would affect their tips. I've got to be honest. I worked many years in food service, so I'm inclined to listen to food service employees. But I'm actually not sure how I would have voted on 77, and should be interesting to see how it all plays out.
It's going to be interesting because basically what they said is that, and I'm pulling up the numbers right now on everything, because that's what we're going to get into next. As we're wrapping up and getting out of here for the evening. Because the next group of folks are in here ready to roll.
The lab. We're going to get some cipher action.
The lab. That's the cipher,
so stick
y'all.
Stick around for the lab.
So what's being said is basically that Bowser and the council will fight it. They will fight it because they were no on it. And this is probably...
That'll be interesting to see.
I think this is the one topic that I feel in my heart that they are going to do the right thing. I don't feel like there's something undermined that's coming with it. No kickbacks. I think this is going to be fair across the board.
Right.
Yeah. There I said it, everybody. I feel that she's going to do something right.
Well, how about that?
Yep.
You can mark it down, June 21st, 2018.
I didn't say everything. I just said initiatives.
Just one thing. Just one thing.
One thing.
That's how it starts.
Initiatives. No.
That's how it starts, Michelle.
No, because
in a month, you're gonna be wearing Bowser T-shirt.
The hell I won't be. Quote that.
Well, so let me ask you, because we are wrapping up pretty quick.
Yeah.
Anything else that jumped out at you, surprised you? I mean, obviously, it sounds to me like all of the council members won their or are at least going to be part of the general election campaigns.
Yeah.
And will likely hold their seats.
Yeah, nothing was...
Or is anybody in danger?
Somebody could be in danger. I mean, let's be clear.
If anybody was in danger, if anybody was in the most danger, who might you speculate as being...
You're going to get me in trouble.
As being the most endangered?
Everybody... everybody's like, our current mayor has nobody's running against her.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, you're a shoo-in. Maybe not. We never know. The primary is basically saying, okay, this is who we are going to elect to be the ticket head, the ticket lead in the November election. You have an independent or a Republican, anybody else can say, you know what? Let's do a write-in. I'm going to run against her. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
And it could be somebody that people are like, oh, yeah, he would be great at that.
What kind of turnout do you expect?
Or she could be great at that.
What kind of turnout do you expect in
It's
November?
It's not going to be large. 77,000 is if the numbers are still what they were the other night.
If the numbers are low, it seems to me like that might increase volatility.
Well, yes.
Put more people in danger. People that you wouldn't think are in danger, like for example, Muriel Bowser,
Chairman Mendelson. Ed is coming for him. He was like, I'm going to run against you.
Yeah.
And people are like, and let's be very clear, 27,000 some residents of the city voted for him. I think what's happening right now...
for Phil Mendelson.
For Phil Mendelson. What is happening is that people... we've heard it all, and we always hear this when it comes to voting. I didn't feel like voting. I didn't know who to vote for. I didn't have enough time to vote. Who are these candidates? I've never heard of them.
Yeah.
And then the other part of it is if it's not within you, you're not going to get up to vote.
Yeah.
Most people, it's not within them to vote. So my voting precinct in Trinidad, I would vote at Cole Rec Center. And I was standing out there, and I'm not naming names, I'm not naming people, but I was standing out there with a group of people, and some of them I know. And I asked the question, How many people on this block, right here on Neal Street, how many people came out of their house and voted today?
I'm guessing not many.
4.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. You live across the street. I know we're wrapping up. You live across the street from where you're supposed to vote. You didn't even get your ass up to go vote. Amazing. Let me explain something to you. My grandfather was the director of the Civil Rights Division for the Highway Administration, of course, during the Civil Rights era. Yeah. Okay? The blood, the bodies, the pain, the suffering. Not only us. So just like immigration, not only us. People have been fighting their lives. We have been fighting an eternity for you to have the right to vote.
Right.
And you don't get your simple asses up to go vote. Okay, I get it. It's not in your heart. So if it wasn't in your heart, all you had to do was write your own name in. I know somebody that got a vote. She's kind of cute, too. And that's all I have to say.
That's all we have to say. I think that's all we have to say for this week. This has been another sterling episode of DC
But
TBD.
As I'm running down, I am going to get the final number on how many people did vote for Molly.
All right.
16,217 votes.
Yes. Woo-woo.
Go, Molly, go. Go,
Molly, go. Thank you to everybody who voted for Molly. We love Molly here.
Yeah. One love us.
For obvious
we love
reasons.
Y'all.
Thank you to our crew, to Nick, to
Production.
Mike. Marcus, unfortunately,
the
was
venerable
not.
Marcus
The venerable one
Kelly.
was not able to join us this week, but
you can follow him on social media. Marcus with a K.
Marcus with a K. Well, no, it's Marcus with a C.
It's Marcus with a C. K. Dowling.
K. Dowling. Marcus with a C. K. Dowling.
Oh God.
Yeah, look him up on the medias. I'm Ian Taranji. You can hit me up on Twitter. I'm at woke since '84. I'll one of these days I'll hip you to why that's my handle.
But you will be getting a T-shirt. That's a secret. That project is coming soon.
Beautiful. All right, everyone. Thank you. This is another.
Hey, you forgot me.
What?
I'm Shelby of DC on social media, Twitter and
sorry, my bad.
And Instagram, and don't forget Event Solutions DC.
Everything DC.
Yes, everything DC.
DC TBD, another sterling episode in the can.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
We appreciate it. Peace.